Sam Owens here with another install. This is going to be valuable for the folks that want to hook up electrical circuits in the Slingshot. As you have already found out, the fuse box does not give you access to add more circuits or fuses to the fuse box. It's already maxed out. And so if you want to add new circuits, a lot of people have been running a wire back to the battery and with a fuse and doing it that way, each circuit. But another alternative is to install a fuse block. This is one that is made for cars, boats, just about anybody that would want additional circuits. There's room for 6 circuits in here, and one circuit could run a couple of items depending on the fusing. Now, here is another word of caution. If you're not familiar with current and basic electricity and Ohm's law, it's going to be hard for you to design your own circuit and select the proper fuse to protect the circuit from overheating and causing fires and what have you. So right at the beginning, I want to give you a word of caution on this. Seek some help. Look at the circuit that you're going to try and install and anticipate what your plans are to install in the future when you connect this. It's very important to select the proper wiring and fuses. Now, when you order a fuse block such as this, I'll give you the ordering information. It's going to come with a spec sheet which is going to tell you the operating parameters of your fuse block. Whatever you order, be sure you know the limits of it and you plan accordingly. Now, you don't have to use the full max capability of the fuse box. This one happens to have a maximum input rating of 100 amps. We are no way in this world going to use 100 amps for just things like lighting and LEDs and maybe a charging port, additional charging port. So we are looking at small amperage ratings. So I am going to tailor mine for my particular needs. So I'm going to select the input wiring that will give me the safety I need. Now, this is 12 gauge input wire. Their rating is for input wire is number 4 to 6 gauge. That is a huge wire, my friends. I'm not going to get anywhere close to that because I'm not going to operate with the limits. Again, the ratings on each terminal or circuit is you could add 30 amp circuits. You could add 6 30 amp circuits in here and be within the limits of this fuse block. So I'm just giving you the operating parameters, and you should look at that. I'm spending a lot of time because I don't want someone to go and install one of these and put 25 or 30 amp fuses in every position and put a little small 14 or 16 gauge wire as an input. So you're going to have some knowledge to do this, but keep it on the smaller size. As far as the fuses, I would say let's don't go higher than 2 amps till you know what you're doing. I wouldn't put any higher amperage than 2 amp fuses in these locations. it's always better to underfuse than to overfuse. So for the Slingshot, I would suggest you get 12 gauge stranded wire as the input. You're going to need the terminal connector to the jump port. Now I'm assuming that if you have the jump port, this is going to be really easy, because you'll only need a short piece of wire, and you're going to need this size terminal to connect your 12 gauge wire to the jump port on the underneath side. You're also going to need another little terminal to connect to this point. So between these two, you're going to have a jumper like this. Now it's going to be shorter than this, but this will just give you the idea, and you'll have this one on this side connected to there. So jump port, which has got your battery voltage on to this point, and then these are your outputs, 6 of them with a fuse. There's also 6 LEDs that, should a fuse blow, the LED will light up indicating which fuse has the blown circuit. So keep safety in mind, and if you're going to do heavy duty amplifiers and heating elements like heating suits and stuff like that, you may want to investigate how much amperage these devices are going to draw, and then get someone to help you set this up ahead of time. Don't just do it with guessing. You have to know a plan when you're installing this yourself. Okay, with that said, now we're going to start our project. We're going to mount this under the hood, and we're going to build a bracket that will mount it for us, or give us a mounting location. You could use these holes and mount this with tie wraps going around, like to the support bar, and you could make this easy if you want, and just mount it to the support bar using tie wraps. I'm going to take this 1.5 inch bar here, and I'm going to form a bracket that will support this and put it in the right position for what I want. So I'll show you that, and then you can decide how you want to make yours. Now we're going to mark this a little better. This is our place we're going to mount this, and I'm only going to use these 2 holes at this point in the center, as close as I can get, and that looks about right. And I'm going to square up this so that it looks nice and decent, and I'm going to put this kind of in the center. Right there is one center, and right there it is. Now I'm going to center that up and find the other center as best I can. And these holes can be a little bigger. Okay, he's in the center. That's in the center. As good as I can get it. And there's my 2 marks. And if I look, I can see that they are pretty well centered. I think I can deal with it. So I'm going to drill holes there. And I can drill them large enough because the screw is going to go on, and I can put a washer if I have to, if I miss it a little bit. So that's where we're going to cut it. is maybe right here close to the edge, because we don't need it sticking over. So I'm going to cut our bracket right about there. So that's the first thing I'm going to do, is cut that part off, so that all I have to work with is here, have a bend there, and a bend here. And this is where we're going to mount it. Drill 2 holes and another hole there. All right, we'll get set up. With your trusty hacksaw, come over here and clamp it in your vise, and we're just going to get her started. And we're going to follow the line. And I do have a grinder over here that I can smooth this out and all the birds, and we'll paint this baby after we're finished. I'm not going to make you watch all of this. Okay, the fuse block mounting screws that I'm going to use are going to require a 3/16 hole, and that's just a fit that just goes perfect. So I take my screw hole or marks, and I'm going to, I do have a punch in there which keeps my drill bit from walking. Have your drill or your vise secure. Have glasses on, safety glasses or something. I'm going to drill the other hole. And get her firm in there. And I'm going to line these holes up, because if there's anything wrong, I want to deal with it right now before we go any further. Looks like a perfect fit. There. So I can screw that down and it's going to be perfect. So I know that that's going to be good. Now I put these over to the side, and now I'm ready for the other hole, which is going to be, we want a 5/16 hole to do the job. All right, so I got my 5/6. I'll tell you what, I'm gonna do a reduction, and I am gonna go with the 1/4, and then bring it up. Okay, so I go in the center. And right in the center. Okay. All right. Now, put my 5/16 in. And round it out. So everything is going to fit. They're in the center. Now I have to do my bending. Now we're going to bend this down. We're ready for our bends. Right here is where I'm going to make my first bend. So I'm going to take the longest end, and so I've got more of a range to bend. And I'm going to square it up right here. And I'm going to bend it that way. So I want this as straight and square as I can get it. And I want to be below, I want the line above the point I'm going to bend at, so that it's gonna roll over there. So I'm going to go just a little bit more, just a little bit. Now I'm going to make sure she's tight. And now I'm going to use 2 vice grips or channel locks, whatever you may. When I look at this, it needs to look at it from a distance, and you could use a level. Right there is better. Okay, and now I'm going to take this and I'm going to bend this over. I'm getting down close as I can go because I want the bend to be down close. Okay, right about there. Okay, there we go. And then let me see if I can't. I can just put my palm there and look at the angle. I want it 90 degrees. Perfect. Right about there. May have gone too far. I'm going to bend back just a little bit. Perfect. Okay, now the other thing is we want to bend this line. We want to bend it this up. So I am going to bend it toward me since I see the line there. This line is where the block is going to go. So I want to bend this down this way. So I come over here, come up above the line a little bit. Right there, because I want to get this down low enough and get back and look at it, and you can actually tell when it's pretty straight. Again, you can get a level, and I'm going to leave that to you. Again, what I'm going to do is get down close and see what I can do with bending this. I'm going to go over here and here, and I'm going to, okay, and now I'm going to come over here and see if I can bend down. Whoop, I don't want to do that. So I'm going to have to bend down here, grab it, and grab it. Okay, and then I may be able to take my hammer, but first I'm gonna see if I can just pull down there. Perfect. Before you go too far, that's about the way we want it. So that's going to be our setup, and our block is going to be there, and that will recess this down, and we'll see how that works. Good. That's going to be our bracket. Now I've got to clean up all of these. That's sharp, and clean this all off. So I'll use my grinder to kind of do that. Our bracket is dry enough to touch. It's quick drying paint, and this is the way it's going to go. I'm happy with it, and it will give us a recessed area so that we don't end up with the hood coming down and touching the top of our fuse block. So now we're ready to mount this bad boy and mount the fuse block, and then we can connect up and our project is done. It's something within the range of you being able to do, I am sure. So I just want to be sure of the safety precautions, that you design your wires for what you're going to be putting onto the circuit. So I'm not doing much, so the 12 gauge is going to be fine for me. You may need 10 gauge if you're going to be getting up close to the 30 amp range. All right, so let's go over to Snazzy and mount this bad boy.